socavón del muelle el vapor y se han llevado a la madre de mi alma y de mi corazón. Camino de Boyullo, ventanero negro, allí mataron y Alonso de los rebeldes. Ay, ay, cuando va a comer
The midwife of that was just very rare. Okay. But have you to hold awareness with each other, everybody? Good to see everyone. Extend to our body like we always do. And awakening awareness. We extend to each other. In the yin meets the outer yin. Allah. Extend to the ancestors. Extend to the great teachers. This extension just opens the field for us, in resonance. Field extending to the field, awareness extending to awareness. And then we'll extend to the traditions we participate in. And then we'll extend to the Dakinis Gnosis, and all the manifestations of Gnosis, which first arising is the elements. We'll extend again. And the elements are finer perception of the field. So in the binary, we'll focus on the elements as keenly as awareness. So we'll focus on Ma, space. So extend to the whole body. Ha. Re. Fire. Sa. And then start releasing elements into the field. You release it. And together. And then stop. This is actually a practice of gazing into the energy, and it becomes more and more luminous. Connect to the vortex of this chi. Spiral. So all the elements mix. Spin. Vortex is what it is. The key is a vortex, huh? Secret essence tantra, the matrix of awareness. This practice more textual. Entire body. Really extend to each other. And we'll pause and we'll focus on the heart center. We place our hands like we're opening that door to the resonance. Strange. Hope the bodhicitta, the substance, liquidity. Dharmakaya drop. And you can release that drop. To that little point beneath the breast. Today and tomorrow is a big day in terms of the day that the Buddha entered into Nirvana, into realization. All the great focusing on Buddha and all the different manifestations of that experience.
Supuesto que no quiero.
All these manifestations manifest in Namanikaya, in culture, and manifest in Sambhogakaya, and manifestations of the primordial.
Y el corazón me llora. gotica, ay,
Then we're going to lean into each other just
gotita,
lightly. You can just lean focus on leaning right in or through a little bit. Almost like learning how
que
to
estoy
pass through.
pasando por esta buena serrana. Ay, 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 estoy todo lo que tengo.
We're also going to extend to Lama Lena, who will be coming here next week, and Lama Wando.
Supuesto que no tiene alivio mis males. Yo me estoy muriendo, yo no quiero nada. Mientras que viva mi compañera.
Stay with our eyes closed a little bit though. Thank you. Because we're running a little late on time this morning. Stay in the resonance, in the oneness. And we're in the body. We're in the body. And it's so interesting how the body reforms and reorganizes itself. Sometimes we weren't in the body, we're in the mind. No? Just located in our little mind. And we can be located in sensation, but sensation's not the body. So a person can be locked into sensation and yet not be embodied, right? And it's actually an easy thing to do. But it's very, all this stuff is a little, takes some discrimination, right? So you can be very locked in sensation yet not be embodied, huh? Not be embodying awareness, huh? So as we become aware of awareness, this experience of awareness is if it's working, is embodied, huh? And as the awareness intensifies, as its qualities become more apparent, both within us and outside of us, then our body, our embodiment, starts having different qualities, huh? So, you know, in one level where the French, I think, corps, it's like a corpse. One level, with corps, we're just like a corpse. But another level, I think, is called clair, flesh. So sometimes we're just like a corpse, and then we become flesh, embodied flesh, clair. And so, as we embody awareness, the experience of embodiment begins unfolding for real. The embodiment. That's why even they speak of the kayas as bodies. Initially it was the Buddha bodies. It was Buddha's Nirmanakaya, Sambhogakaya, Dharmakaya manifestation. But actually as things unfolded historically, then began understanding that these dimensions are dimensions of our awareness and dimensions of the world. Right? You guys know that. But embodiment, the embodiment of awareness is actually realization, huh? To embody it completely. And through this embodiment is also the embodiment of the world in a certain real way. So the lived experience of awareness is embodied, and in the body and through the body, which we actually experience, the body becoming more porous and more open, it more opens immediately into the world. And so the unfolding of the awareness field is an embodying unfolding. That's why sometimes it's not always easy. You feel stretched and pushed and this way and that way, not always easy. And as we embody it, it becomes more expansive and starts going beyond the body boundaries. So that's why we can actually start to feel oneness beyond our bodies and oneness beyond the meditation of the mind. When we have oneness in the mind, like, oh, we got the same idea or the same sensation or the same memory, like reunions or, but the embodiment of awareness is that the field actually is embodied and goes beyond the body. But it's a little tricky because as we start to become aware of awareness, we start to become aware of a mind, aware of awareness, it's always a little tricky to stay in the body because most of us, one way or another, have dissociative tendencies. And the first association is we dissociate from primary awareness and we're just in our mind. That's the first big dissociation. The second big dissociation is we do that, we get dissociated from our body. You with me? So we're kind of a mind, and within that mind is a little bit of awareness someplace, tucked away, waiting for a day to embody. And for some people it happens fast, and for some of us it takes a long time. But the lived experience of awareness is centered in the body and opens directly into the world. So perception and the perceived are given immediately through awareness. So awareness and what is perceived is given in an immediate way, direct way, in oneness. Or as they say, the inner yin meets the outer yin. So as we have all these different experiences in the awareness field, the body becomes more lighter, more luminous, more porous, and yet paradoxically, one heck of a lot stronger. So the very light of the body, the very embodiment, becomes the protection. Are you with me? So rather than having disembodiment, not having awareness in the body, only located in the mind with very thick sheaths around us, or the stimulus barriers, Freud would call it, or the Anjou calls it the skin ego. What happens is the very field itself, in its embodiment, becomes the great protection. That becomes the great protection, right? It is the protection. Right? So sometimes even these texts, you do invocations, like in this wonderful text here, really great text, the one of the Chakram Samvara Tantra. The protector is the dome of your field. That's the protector, the dome of the field, which is your field. You guys follow this, right? Because we're always looking at what's protection. So the embodied subject opening, because what is the embodied subject? It's the opening of primordial awareness in us, in this body. It's not some little guy inside. Hello, hello. It's the primordial openness in this body, in the flesh, right? And it has a little mind and has fingers and things like that. And so it's open simultaneously. As it opens in yourself, it opens simultaneously into this existent world. And so there's this openness to the openness of the world, the spaciousness of the world. So both subjectivity, my subjectivity, and your subjectivity, and our subjectivity is all arising out of primordial awareness. And it's coming into these little bodies, all this primordial openness within us and around us and through us is that way. So that's why we can be realized, right? And we integrate our mind. We integrate our mind, and slowly but surely the mind dissolves in this awareness. So awareness is less a function of mind, but mind is now more of a function of awareness. And that is really good. So history has less of a bang. Primordial embodiment. So there arises a sense of the flesh. So there's initially my flesh, but eventually it actually starts to feel as one flesh. One flesh. Not one chunk, one flesh. And this flesh actually arises out of the manifestation of the elements. And so we can never get outside the avenue of experience of the elements. Primordial awareness arising as you and I is arising is the elements, right? So one of the reasons why we like practicing the elements in various and sundry ways, and the way I'm just giving it is one little way, because all these different lineage and traditions, they all do their own thing. And just like we all do. Everybody does their own thing. You with me? And we have our names. But as we do this, if you'd like this practice, Maharini is such one of many, it helps bring forth more embodiment. More embodiment of the light in a more refined way. But you can't quite practice this if you don't have the field already in the palm of your hand, and you feel all that stuff would hopefully be filled after these years. So then you can start becoming a little more refined with the elements. Now just imagining all this stuff, you know what this is going to do? It's going to locate you in the imagination. You will not be in perception, okay? And you can imagine anything you want. Who cares, right? But imagining is not perceiving, okay? So it's a little tricky at times to feel the arising and sense the light and slowly tune yourself to the elements. And these little practices help that. And the little mantras, these little syllables, it's not that space is my head and earth is in my throat. They're like little iconic doors that open up the whole system, okay? You guys following this? So my body, and it's also gazing. We're gazing into our own field. We're gazing, we're releasing it. And this is the path of appearances, and more. First it may start off as an experience. Kinesis, you feel it. You may feel the presence of dakinis. You feel the presence of the earth. Then slowly but surely it becomes more apparent, and we start seeing and feeling it with our own body, or we just know it. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you feel it, and sometimes with direct perception, you just know it. But my body and your body is the field of localization. Yep, I'm localized. You with me? That's what a mortal is. A localized beingness of being. You with me? So primordial awareness is located within me and in you and you. And it's interesting, it's both in time and space. This is time right now. It's 10:30 on May 5th. Sagawa Day it's called. That's the day of the Buddha's Purnavana, his leaving. Now, and the leaving and death are pretty close. That's what they celebrate the same thing on the same day, I think. Cinco de Mayo. Yeah, I think it's. Now, so we're both in time and space, Nirmanakaya, and we're both also in Sambhogakaya, which in some kind of way has its own time and own space, because things happen and move there, okay? And then we're also in Dharmakaya, as Dharmakaya. You with me? So, actually, I am the Dharmakaya. I am. Are you with me? And that Dharmakaya is here in time and space, and in this dimension it's called Nirmanakaya. And I'm the Dharmakaya at times in vortexes. I feel the vortexes and I see little experiences. You follow me? So, I'm actually in all three, and so are you. You with me? In all three. Now, my body's not in all three, and this mind is not necessarily in all three. It's not in the Dharmakaya. You with me? But the awareness is in all three, right? That makes sense, doesn't it? It is the same awareness, ultimately, huh? Peeping through in this place. What's happening here? And then sometimes you start to feel it more and more, and you go, hey, what's happening here? And then you start to feel your mind and body dissolving, and you're still alive, but it's dissolving in a subtle way, and you start dissolving more and more into the unbound field. But you're still embodied in the body, because it actually takes place in the body. So even when a yogi is dying or dead, there's still stuff taking place in the body, as slowly but surely they resolve. So being in the body is really fantastic, and having one is really, really great, because it does take place. The alchemical pot is my body, and the alchemical experience is my body, and the centers in this body, all this helps bring forth the realization, embodied consciousness. That's the wonder of being a human being. And the world is the ground of all beings and the being. So the very world is the ground of being manifesting as the world. So the ground of being is not just, someplace off in the great, what do you call that, that point? The galactic. The world is this world manifesting as the ground of being. It's the ground of being manifesting as the ground of the earth, this dimension. It's okay, we all know that. So the world is the ground of being, manifesting beings and things and actions. So we actually come out of the earth. We come through earth. We come through the flesh of this place. You with me? That's like the first. And so we're earth dimension beings. You see? It's not like suddenly you're placed in the earth, like a little bullet shot into the earth, coming in. No, it arises out of the earth itself. That's why the earth is a manifestation of the Divine Mother. You guys follow this way of, you really want to see this not being separate from consciousness. You can take the dissociative route if you wish. You're welcome to. Most people do, actually. Many people and traditions, it's primarily dissociative. You really want to transcend. You really want to get out of here. You haven't got here yet, but we want to get out here as soon as we can. And since we're not quite here, it's really, you want to get out. You with me? And a lot of traditions have that, I think, in their baby phases. You with me? In their baby phases. You with me? And it's not against any great yogis, okay? But in the baby phases, Prakriti is really bad. You with me? And you want to get away from Prakriti and just become a little witness spot. Actually, people who are in trauma have exactly the same experience. They want to get away. They want to be out of the body. Their self goes drops away and gets located someplace in the mind, and they witness. Most of the great studies on trauma, you have some form of witnessing, witness consciousness. You know, all the stuff on dissociative states and part states, there's always the witness, okay? And it's really not unlike the yogic witness. Very, very similar. You with me? Not here. You with me? And it's actually good to have that. You can have a lot of experiencing clarity. It can be very clear. It can be very lucid. It can have there's light in it. It's not that it's not lit. It's just that it's no place else. So, one day, we get tired and we start to try and enter back into the body and be a participant, embodied consciousness. At least, you don't have to think this way, But embodiment. But there's a dissociative pull, because as we locate in time and space, and we're in time, and we're timeless awareness. Now, timeless awareness is not dissociative. Have you felt timeless? Does it feel dissociative? It's like a big embrace. It just holds everything. It's not out of here. It's holding here. It actually helps us embody here. You guys following this? Okay, so timeless awareness, with its infinite horizons, is yet there's this mixture of time and timelessness that's quite participatory. Raise your hands if this is making sense, because we're trying to go through a puddle right now. Okay, we're trying to walk through. Now, and so we also shift when we're actually embodied in an awareness. The mind becomes more and more a part of that, and we just watch what's manifesting. We're really attuned to what the present is, and the present is really important, because that's where timeless awareness manifests itself. Timeless awareness doesn't manifest itself in the past. Timeless awareness doesn't manifest itself in the future. Timeless awareness manifests itself in the present. That's where it goes. Okay? Is this okay with you guys? It's getting too redundant. So, and it all's embodied, huh? It's in the body. So we have this perceptual unfolding, like we call aletheia, and we enter more and more into oneness with what's being perceived. We have boundaries, and yet through the boundaries, the appearance starts manifesting itself as energy and light and openness, and we really start feeling freer. It also helps us see what's going on better. You with me? One of the problems with dissociative states, you really don't see what's going on a lot. You sort of witness it from afar, but you're not really in the body, which gives you a lot of information. That's why the yogis always say, be in awareness with all the senses wide open. So actually awareness comes through the senses, and awareness comes through the heart. Both comes direct and it comes indirect. That makes a tremendous porridge, you know. It's really almost done. So as you and I enter the essence of appearance, as we begin to be able to lean into appearance and experience within appearance, and also the apparitional dimension, Sambhogakaya, we can start experiencing the beingness of our own being. This is a hard word, phenomenalizing perception. We can start to feel how we are assimilating experience. And in the very assimilation of experience, it's being metabolized and dissolving. So as we're in awareness and things are appearing, some good, some not so good, we are having the capacity to assimilate experience, metabolize experience, and in the very metabolization, our field gets stronger. You with me? It's sort of like eating shit at times. You with me? You actually can get strong from that. And that's some kind of ways you can look at some of those tantras where you eat shit and stuff like that, okay? Raise your hands if this is making sense, what I'm saying, okay? So all this is taking place in the body, but it's not the body as the corpse. It is the body as the clair, the flesh, the body of flesh that starts infusing the corpse, infusing our body, and becomes more and more luminous. And there comes a point when we're no longer having to use intentionality to hold awareness, to be in awareness, but the body of light then starts to hold awareness for us. And that's happening for us, plain old people, where the body of light is now holding awareness. So the light holds awareness. Whew, much less effort. Okay? Now, the flesh itself is like an element. Actually, the flesh, Nirmanakaya, is an element. It is like a combination of the elements. You with me? It's a certain kind of little alchemical mixture that's us. And then another level, it's the elements in their Sambhogakaya form, little energies and spirits and stuff like, you with me? Archetypes. And then another element is just open space with the arising, the elements arising out of that and arise. Okay? But we can feel the elements in our body, and when we feel the elements in our body gets stronger. Have any of you felt your body getting stronger since you've been doing this practice? Raise your hand. Right? You actually start having, the Qigong masters do the same thing with different forms of Qi and stuff and different names, but you start feeling your body being more embodied. So rather than being less embodied, you're more there. There-ness of the there. Okay? As we come into awareness of awareness, so it is very easily, because that energy that's coming through, right, that power of that energy can pop us into trance. Because we're used to being popped into trance with certain type of intensities. You with me? And as everyone knows who knows hypnosis, if you want to hypnotize somebody, what do? You take one of their 5 functions and you amplify their function and you focus that function and you just have that person become absorbed in a function. If I would tell you a little story. It's a beautiful day like today. We're on top of a little hill. And at the bottom of the little hill there's a little tree. And we're going to walk slowly down that hill, and we're going to lie under that tree. So we walk down and we lie in the tree, and then, oh, look at that leaf, and look at the veins in that leaf. Now watch that leaf break off the tree. And it falls to the earth and disappears. So as we're focusing visually like that, we start isolating other stuff, time and things, you with me? And then we get locked into that particular function. Do you remember when you were 5 years old and it was really a great day? Let's think back to it. It was really a great day. It wasn't 5, maybe 7. You know? So you can go back into memory, you isolate the other functions, and then memory itself can take you into a trance, okay? Sensation can take you into a trance. We just do Can you feel the Yeah? And you can use sensation as a really good one. Pain can take us into trance. Pain can really push us into trance. You with me? If you know the doorway, right? Memories, thinking, narratives. Narratives can take us into trance. Even our own narratives can take us into trance. Right? So we're very tranceable people. You with me? But what we're doing, it's really good to go in trance, because if you go into trance, you begin to realize you're not rational. Now that's quite a relief. It is a fantastic relief that you're not just a rational person. You with me? Because many times we think we're rational. We think we're Aristotelian beings, rational animals. I'm blobbing along right now, but that's okay. But you begin to realize you're not rational. In fact, you're probably closer to nuts than not rational. All this stuff is flowing around, and you're in a sea. You with me? And you can actually feel ecstasy that you're finally not just a rational person. Okay? And then you can feel all sorts of intensity, and you can do all, and it's really a useful tool. But you won't be realized in trance from this prejudice point of view. So you have to release yourself from trance and become yourself, because yourself is not an altered state. Yourself is your awareness. Huh? It's just really and truly, it's you, primordial awareness as you and me, as our own selves. Okay? So, this manifestation of the field is replete with meanings, and words and language are not the only source of meaning. Huh? We can feel meaning, we can sense meaning, we can put it to words. But meaning is within this world, and the fields of the world and language, we can articulate these felt fields. So in our awareness state, we can articulate all sorts of stuff, and we can feel fields of other people in our awareness field, right? We can even feel our family field, right? And we can dissolve that. Okay. Almost done for right now. So awareness is embodied, and in this embodiment, it leads us into realization. But this embodiment is an embodiment of this world. That's why the yogis say the bliss of samadhi is the bliss of the world. Isn't it amazing? And it's an embodied of the multidimensional world. It's the embodiment of Nirmanakaya, and it's the embodiment of Sambhogakaya, and it's actually the embodiment of the Dharmakaya. We embody the whole thing. And actually this whole process is one of embodiment, these different dimensions. It's not like we're leaving this dimension and visiting Dharmakaya, or we're leaving this dimension, now I'm going to visit Uncle Sambhogakaya with me, or I'm now leaving my awareness and now I'm going to visit Nirmanakaya and say hello to everybody here. And then I'm out of here again. Okay? So dissociativeness creates certain forms of detachment. You really have to watch religion. Okay, no offense to anybody. We have some religious people here. I think, we have to watch religion, because religion talks a lot about dissociation in very disguised ways. Okay, and it uses detachment a lot. Okay, and it really wants you to be detached. Are you with me? as much as, not all the time, I'm overstating things for entertainment purposes, okay? But sometimes detachment's really the most important thing you can do. And if you're not detached, you're not going to be realized, okay? It's not going to work for you. And so as you get detached, you're not bonded, and you're not connected. Now there's some truth about that. If you're detached and not bonded to anything, and not connected to anything, you won't suffer that much. But that's what autism is in a Kleinian frame. That's why people enter autism. I'm not talking about children now. I'm not talking about the classical autist. I'm talking about autistic dimensions of our own self. You with me? And what autism does, in a Kleinian sense, the characterological autism, which we all have more. Haven't you ever felt your autistic self at least one time? Raise your hands, please. Really good to. It's really, would you mind, do you know what an autistic state is? You with me? Now, what's nice about an autistic state is there's no pain in it. And there's no fear in it. You're in a vacuum. Dr. Yen used to say, be careful about the VAC, V-A-C. Because the VAC is not primordial, is not the Qigong field. The VAC is an empty state, but it's not the emptiness that is pristine primordial awareness. There's a lot of confusion on emptiness. The autistic state is a vacuum state. You only know it if you've ever been there. Most of the stuff you only know if you've experienced it. That's why it takes one to know one. I'm serious. This whole issue of truly gaining mastery is knowing everything possible. The nasty of the nastiness and the best of the best. And the more you know everything, then you know it. Then you know it directly. You with me? So you really should know autistic states. And if you don't think you've ever been in one, you're probably in one right now, okay? So it's a vacuum-like state. There's no fear in it. And you know what's most of all? There's no anxiety in it. There's no anxiety. Oh my God, it's great. The only bad thing about it, is this okay if I'm going on a little longer than it, is nothing happens. See Gordeau, when I asked you guys to read Gordeau? That was an autistic story of an autistic life, except when there were some sadomasochistic moments. And then life came into the story. Miss Pogo and what's the other person's name? Who? Estrogen, thank you. Estragon? I'm uninformed about a lot of things. Without estrogen, you can be in an autistic state, right? So, the highlight, Estragon and with Pogo, there's some life there at least. You with me? Even they're just beating the shit out of each other, right? There's life, right? So autistic states are profoundly safe. You're actually witnessing things, and nothing happens. Nothing at all happens. And then you think you're in timeless awareness. It's a very serious talk. You then think you're in timeless awareness because you think nothing's happening. This is all very close. It is so close. It is so close. Then you start to leave the autistic state. Then you know what happens when you start to step out? You enter into a paranoid schizoid state. This is not fun. You start coming into the world and you realize it's not all friendly. Not only that, but you're still not in one, you're not together. So you're kind of in parts, you with me? And one part likes this and the other part can't stand it, you with me? And as long as you have that splitting, you're going to be a bit paranoid, you with me? And you're going to be really feeling the victim-victimizer state pretty strongly. You with me? And so since you don't like that, you're going to dissociate yourself from the victim-victimizer state. And you're going to create a fantasy world. And you're going to keep yourself out of this place. Now, you're no longer autistic. You're now schizoid. This is a better place, actually. It's more creative. And so now you're not quite here. You're not quite in the body. There's a separation between your body and the self, or your awareness self. And you can be in the mind a lot. You could write really well, probably. Or you can have a really good imagination. You'd be a very creative person. Schizoid does not foreclose creativity, okay? It forecloses relatedness. You with me? And you can write all sorts of things and think all kind of very... you can really entertain people with terror, okay? But in this state, there's a split between you and your body, and so you don't feel quite related in the world. So even just someone to look at you, oh, don't look at me. Or for you to look at the human face can really be disturbing. You with me? To be seen or to see is a disturbing experience. Because what you look at is you don't see humanness. You don't see the human being. You with me? You see a thing. It's a thing-like world a lot. You follow what I mean, guys? And so it's the thingness of this world. And you can be very successful. You can be enormously successful. You can be tremendously technologically successful. You with me? And our society actually loves this a lot. It's a kind of a high value. Okay? We're almost done. But there's a dissociativeness here. And as you start to go beyond that, you actually start to discover presence in your body, not easy, and you start to discover presence in other people's bodies, okay? And when you start feeling that presence, you can start to feel, oh God, it takes one to know one. You feel that resonance, and oneness begins to arise. And you're now becoming a realized person. So actually, I really don't separate a lot of psychology from realization. I think it's a work in progress with those two things. You with me? And so you come through embodying, and as soon as you start embodying your own consciousness, okay, and you're holding really opposites. You're holding love and hate, quiet and achievement, and you're actually holding, also you actually start holding the masculine and feminine at this level. Because up to this point, with splitting, I'm telling you, guys are guys and girls are girls. You with me? There's a real split within the masculine feminine thing. So even at the schizoid level, which is the most basic split beyond the body, it's the most basic split in cultures, is the masculine feminine split. Of course you don't have to believe any of this, but as you start to embody both the masculine and feminine yourself, you will then move very, very, you start finding yourself on a quicker trip into the next phase, okay? And your mind and body starts working better. And even some of those pictures of some of those symbolic pictures, the masculine and feminine, this is not gender dependent, has nothing to do with gender dependent, has nothing to do with sexual preference, has nothing to do with that whatsoever. It has to do with psyche. It has to do with the powers of psyche. It actually has to do with the elements in certain very real ways. Raise your hands if this is making sense. So you begin to experience the oneness of the masculine and feminine yourself. Now it's not like suddenly your masculine starts in taking the feminine and saying, welcome home. Or the feminine starts welcoming that way. They infuse each other. It's an infusion experience. You with me? It is an infusion state. They infuse each other. And in the infusion, you find yourself actually kind of popping forth. It's like you find yourself, it's a quantum step. It's not linear. Suddenly, you feel like you have both dimensions in you at the same time. And your body starts reorganizing according to that. I'm talking about embodiment today, okay? Almost done. Maybe that's enough for right now. And we'll come back again to this, okay? But you do have in early formulations of Buddhism and early formulations of Christianity, not the Gnostic Christians, not like Thomas and people like that, but in 325, the Council of Nicaea, you start having in both Vedic, not the Vedas, not the Upanishads, because they're quite embodied, but you have Vedic philosophy and you have early Buddhism from this person's point of view, opinions. You have a mind-only experience. You with me? Mind-only experience. It's all a function of the mind. There's nothing else other than my mind. And you guys are all configurations of my mind. You with me? Including myself. And if I look closely, there's nothing whatsoever. Any place. Okay? Or the Vedics, you really want to transcend everything, which means Prakriti. is bad. You with me? Prakriti, the earth element, flesh, not good. Okay, and then of course with this, everything goes underground. All the stuff with the flesh and the light and life then becomes in the background. It becomes the dark side. You with me? Then over centuries, the dark side is slowly integrated after vast unknown amounts of suffering, unknown, unbelievable amounts of suffering. So that's the end of my happy talk for today. Okay, now we're going to pause for a second. So we covered certain areas around embodiment, you with me? And the elements are really, really useful for this embodiment practice, okay? Now, does anybody want to say anything just briefly? Then we'll move on. Just a brief statement. Anybody want to say anything? Anything to this little mixture? Really, this is embodiment practice. And also, in terms of Mayamaka, okay? There's many different versions of Mayamaka. And I always have great respect and love for the lamas, but I understand everybody has their own cultural frames. You with me? And I think we all have to own. I think everybody invents their own way to realization ultimately through your karma. That's why there's a lot of options. You can have options you want. You can be killing cats right now, getting realized, or sheep, or whenever you can do all sorts of things. You with me? And they may all be the same. I personally don't think that. I think it's a polite way of thinking about things, but maybe so. But if you just look how things turning out, I don't think so. Anyway, But you have to know your prejudices. I'm a highly prejudiced person. So when you look at Mayamaka, a lot of times Mayamaka thinking was a concrete operational way of thinking. 7, 8, or 9 years old. Like, Piaget and stuff, they don't really equal each other. In fact, they do, because one is thin and one is short and plump. You with me? There's not the same level of abstraction, okay? And if your language is caught in that type of language, and you don't have systemic thinking, and you don't have multidimensional thinking, you're going to have some problems trying to articulate a multidimensional world. You guys follow what I'm saying here? So, actually, in a way, I do exist right here in this place. You with me? In the flesh, I exist. I'm here. And that is undeniable, unless it's deniable. Now, I can deny it for philosophical belief reasons, but actually, I exist here. You with me? And that is a felt sense. You with me? There's something to that. You with me? Unless it's really denied and foreclosed for philosophical and traditional reasons because you have alliance to a leader. Okay? Now. But also, at another level, if I'm happy to be lucky, I might feel a vortex in this person who just sat down next to me, okay? I might feel the vortex. Some of you will see the vortex. And I experience that dimension. You with me? That is also real, because I feel it moving through me right now. You with me? That's a reality. So I don't consider it just a fantasy, or delusion, or illusion. You with me? But I think this person is a multidimensional person. And if I was simply a Newtonian person, I couldn't think about it. I would have to think only that emptiness is because she's just a chunk of particles. Are you with me? That's what some people think about emptiness, of the dependent origination, that all the emptiness, she's empty, you're empty, because you're just a chunk of particles coming together, which is true. That's one way of thinking empty. There's a more profound emptiness, I'm going through the mind, where Dharmakaya, pure potential space. Maybe we're going to call it emptiness or spaciousness, the vast Mahasanyaka void, that galactic experience that comes, that's also in her too. Manifesting right now. It's manifesting flesh, it's manifesting vortexes, and if I have a good moment and I can be in that dimension, I can feel that here also. You with me? And aspects of her do not exist. Really, she's actually not here, excuse me, if I'm just at that dimension. Everything disappears. Everything does disappear. You with me? In the fourth vision, it all disappears. Everything just dissolves. And then it rises back again in 2 seconds later. Raise your hands if you're understanding this. So this is a multidimensional approach to existing things in multidimensional. Yes, please.
I think also there's a problem in our language.
Yep.
And so I'm working on being more mindful of how to articulate it, unity consciousness or whatever.
Yep.
In language.
In language.
Because our language supports, is that on? Because our language just supports that concrete operational
Yes.
Newtonian framework.
Yes. But our language is going beyond that.
Yes, but we have to really, I think, be consciously aware of
Yes.
it.
That is really very, very important. And it's important because I've been to many talks, you with me, where the oneness of the world is foreclosed as delusion. You with me? And that may be useful for some people, but actually it's not true. It is not true in the multidimensionality of truth. And so there's different traditions around this stuff, and when certain lamas talk or teachers talk, it makes some difference who it is. I hold that in respect because I understand they're coming from a particular place in a particular time. And then I frame it how I understand it. You with me? But I've also been with people who really castigate people for their meditation experiences where they're actually having archetypical experiences and just cut them down. You with me? And I think that person's behaving like a jerk and an asshole. You with me? So I don't bother with them. You with me? Because it's missing the divine reality as appearances. You with me? And two of the great Dzogchen masters who wrote about this is one named Rongchen, and there's a text called Divinity of Appearance, which is his text, and the other is Longchenpa. You with me? And Garbe Dorje and Padmasambhava also. So I'm framing this stuff is that, there's no such thing as Buddhism, and there's no such thing as Hinduism, there's no such thing as Christianity. You have to take what you want to take and walk through it. Especially on the topic of embodiment. Especially on the topic of embodiment. And embodiment, and also giving up dissociative methods. Because when we give up dissociation, then the light of the awareness really comes through. And it comes through our bodies, and we can experience oneness as ordinary people. A-okay? Is it okay with everybody? So we'll hold awareness now. Anybody want to say anything? This is an important topic to get clear from my point of view. We've been through it different ways. I'm giving a little summary on embodiment. But we're just going to do it very quickly. Yes, statement.
I just wanted to say thank you. This is helping me understand embodiment in that multidimensional frame, along with skillful means in the relational aspects, and how the awareness of the multidimensionality can create very complex situations. How do I say that can be held and framed in many different ways. So it's important for me.
Yep, you're right.
It's important for me to not go into reactivity without the increased awareness of the multidimensionality of the appearance of phenomenon as it's happening.
Yes. So you and I have appearances coming. It's the path of appearance, just as appearance. We're holding awareness. So there's appearance of flesh. There might be appearances of Sambhogakaya, energies, light, archetypes, and there's the appearance of just openness. And that's Vambhikakaya. And I do think that's what took place a couple of weeks ago for us. All three were manifesting at that moment. Four were manifesting at that moment. All at the same, which is stunning, saturating, but can happen. Is okay with everybody? That's why one of the major methods is what? Resonance. If I can feel you, if I can feel resonance with you, what's going to happen to me? I'm coming into being. I'm being brought more into embodiment. I'm becoming more flesh. So having said that, let's hold awareness with each other today, okay? I hope if this is confusing in any way, shape, or form, send me an email. We really want to be beyond this discussion, okay? Everybody okay? And Lama Lena is coming. She's going to give a great talk on the the arising of awareness spontaneously and nakedly. Because ultimately, skillful means comes to a point, and then skillful means drops behind, underneath gnosis, and it arises naturally. That's right. Everybody okay? Here we are. So let's form a thing, okay? If you feel healthy, maybe someone can sit there, and someone there, and someone there. Embodiment, huh? Embodiment of consciousness, huh? Flesh, the element of the flesh. Okay. You want to sit there? Is that okay? But if you feel okay? Okay, we're going to push over this way a little bit. There we go. Push back. The other thing with the schizoid state, this is important, okay? And I think all of us go this, not necessarily development, this arises in us. As awareness itself manifests, these structures will come up. It is actually part of the practice of realization. These structures will come up of necessity, okay? And that is action. Action is difficult when you're in the schizoid state at times, because you reach into objectivity, and that touching otherness is very confusing, okay? And so the capacity to act into otherness, into humanness, into consciousness, into selfhood. You with me? You can operate with things, but actually selfhood, where you actually experience the human dimension. Because the schizoid dimension is sort of on the edge of the human dimension, not quite flesh yet, okay? And so to really feel that human dimension, okay? And to feel action in the human dimension and consequences is actually the great compassion arising in your body. And so one thing we tend to do immediately, we start to feel that, is we start to drop back into a cow-like position, like many certain frames, and you don't do anything. You with me? There is an undoing of resting in the Dharmakaya, because it's unfolding in you that's enormously powerful. There's another undoing that your hands are tied behind your back, and you are afraid to have penetration, to use penetration, the Vajrakalaya, entering into consequences. You with me? You do not want to enter into consequences. And then you don't experience the fact that knowledge is action. You guys follow this? So as a compassion really arises, and you have more and more power that's really coming through your body, you can shift to a cow-like position, and nothing takes place with action. The great yogis don't act like that. They have action behind them. You with me? Even though within a certain level, there's action in inaction and action, but actually there's action that takes place. You with me? So action, leadership, to use that word, consequences. You with me? The Vajrakalaya practice, which is simply a metaphor, it's not a little dagger, is an integration of these tendencies of not to act in this world. Yes.
Rudy, would you say something about how one moves from that how position to leadership?
By leadership, I mean action.
I fall into that.
Yes. I bet you $25 that something is bad happening to one of your kids right now.
My father.
Or your kid, or your father,
Yeah.
but you have children.
Yeah.
If something was, I know they're dear to you. If something was happening to your kid, you would act in 2 seconds.
Right.
You would just act.
Right.
Because that's just beyond philosophy and beyond beliefs. And there'd be no question you would act. And then if you wouldn't act in that situation, then you really have to do something.
Right. But what about, I guess, I don't know if this is too personal or if you don't want to go there, but what about if you know you're in that place, you don't want to be in that place, nothing outside is necessary, I mean, there are things outside to act on.
Yes, as Godot says, what's happening? Nothing. Nothing's happening. You have to watch when nothing's happening in this life. I mean, I would read Godot again. It is such a powerful, nothing's happening. It's a sort of nothing, and then suddenly, what is the, you know what Dharma is? You know what the word Dharma means? It's action. Dharma is action. Dharma is action.
Would a skillful means of working with that be working with the Vajrakalaya?
It may be. You know, it depends on which, depends, or it may just, you know, you have to watch symbolic stuff because then you're just sitting doing all kind of symbolic stuff, and that can slip into a very powerful schizoid situation, and you're just in phantasmagoria. I mean, some of this stuff is, this is a talk on watching phantasmagoria. And I love these practices. But if you're just sitting there day after day, year after year, and you're swirling an empty knife around, and you're rolling around on the ground, meanwhile, things are going to shit around you. You with me? You might have to challenge yourself a bit. You with me? So all these practices are really useful, but not the real Vajrakalaya is the Dharmakaya of your life. Dharma and karma meet each other. And Dharma is action. Dharma is action. You know, people. I want to invoke the Dharma. You're invoking action. I want to enter Dharma. You're entering action. You're entering phenomena. You are in phenomena. You are a player. You are an actor. You with me? Yeah. And you read the lives of great yogis. Pandap, the Siddha, the lines, Pandapa Samjay. Just read, and you'll see life with huge amount of action. You know, a yogi like Lama Wanda, who's very ill. You know, he carries his teacher over the mountains. You know, this huge guy, puts the guy down. He goes. The guy says, "You should come now with me." Nope, I'm sitting here. I mean, you can feel the authorship of this person. You with me? Dharma, authorship, and a lot of religions do teach cow behavior because it's really good for the institutions. You with me? It's institutionally bound.
What's happening politically right now? We're all in this schizoid state where people aren't really.
Right. So action. Everybody doing okay with this? Everybody? Yes, please. Almost done.
Sort of a very concrete operational.
That's okay.
We would never come there.
But is there a risk in a sense that if you really there could be a risk that if you really kind of want to be in Dharma, that actually you slip into dissociation and you kind of want to believe that that's Dharmakaya. And you kind of in
Totally true.
fantasy when you kind of want to label it as Samakakaya. And actually, from a very concrete operational perspective, how do you distinguish or know when you kind of slipped into these states that actually aren't what you want to believe they are?
Very good question. Very good question. Very good question. You know, you can run to somebody else and ask them. Yes. You can run to someone else and ask them, which is one way of doing it. But my own root teacher really kind of said it's not the best way. He said, you should really take your authority into your own self, and raise that question and discover it. Discover it. He was very, very, very careful. And some people, he would have to be cows. But if you don't want to be a cow, then you make the step of taking the authority into your own body. And then you really learn from your experience what the experience brings to you. You with me? I'm totally serious about this. That is a true question. And you won't learn it the first day, but you are in the right position to gain mastery. You're in the right position to gain mastery. Because you're taking the authorship into your own self, and you're experimenting, and you're seeing what happens for you. You're actually seeing what's happening here. And you're watching, does something happen at all, or does nothing happen whatsoever? So you're watching what happens. I don't mean the first second, but you're watching what's happening around me, what's happening through me, what's happening to me, what's happening. What is actually taking place? And then you are holding your authority. You're holding your mastery in this. You ever see a kid who's 5 years old and they already have their own authority? You with me? Sometimes they're a really pain in the ass. You with me? But they take it and they walk it. You with me? And they're holding authorship. You with me? That doesn't mean they don't learn or don't experience and don't watch. But they take authorship. And for you, and it's for all of us, me included, for you to take authorship from Swami Muktananda, okay? To take authorship of your own self. To hold it. You with me? Take authorship. And then you'll have equal vision with your teachers. You won't slip into status stuff. You with me? With them. You won't slip from the master relationship, which is great to meet real masters, but you will not become a slave dog. You with me? You won't find a mother or a father there. You with me? And you cut through that, then you're doing the most important thing for realization. Are you okay? Then you will dissolve self-doubt, which is Gabe Dorje's third statement. You know, in Gabe Dorje, the first is get a transmission, the second is stay in it, and the third, this is for all of us, is without doubt. You undercut doubt. You get out of doubt and looking for someone else to tell you. Now, you might do that in a gracious sort of way, like a southerner does. You talk and you give, which is great. But actually, you are bringing your own self forth into realization. And if you're fortunate, if you have people to be with and you meet great teachers, but a lot of them are going to say the opposite thing anyway. This is true. This is true. We're gabbing today. But I loved about my own training is I had so much different training. So in the morning, I'd be in a psychoanalytic situation. In the afternoon, I'd be in a behavior mod place, cognitive, and I'd be getting, and even I have a family system thing, all saying quite the opposite, you know? This is in psychology too. Isn't this great? Isn't this great? Then you can say, I have no mother and I have no father. I have no mother. We should all say this out loud. I have no mother and I have no father. I am the mother and I am the father. They dwell within me together in oneness. Feel the Shakti? That's a great question. In awareness, we bring things in from awareness, we assimilate experience. Is one cutting through? And the other? We cut through it. In Hegel's Phenomenology of Consciousness, his Phenomenology of Spirit, one of the first great books on the phenomenology of consciousness, 5 chapters on the nature of consciousness, and 5 on the master-slave relationship. 5 chapters. And the constant being lost in asymmetrical life. With me? Who has the knowledge here? We're all doing okay? Yes?
Something's being put together. Thank you. Something is being put together for me about this, which goes back to. Is this on? No. So, what is?
Green light?
Have it. Okay. So what's coming up for me around this are a couple of thoughts based also around what Marla said and what you had said about actually it kind of goes back to master-slave relationship and the willingness to be stuck in one aspect of it or the other. What's been coming up for me around this talk and the conversation, which has been incredibly helpful for me, and I think this speaks a little more directly to what Marla was saying, is there's a lack of willingness to act and create. You can look at it psychologically like, oh, we're so busy, we're reacting to everything in our lives. You can also look at it as a refusal to step into your dharma. So one of the things that gets associated for me with all of this is the state of wanting to be in innocence, the state of not wanting to take action and thereby incur consequences. When you are a slave, someone else is responsible. This goes back to the Jessica Benjamin stuff, I think.
She's Hegelian.
One of the great gifts of that book for me was about how it was so much more than about S&M stuff. There's something about being in a position of being the victim, being the slave, being not the perpetrator, of not having to take responsibility for one's life. That's an extreme form, perhaps. It's acted out in an extreme way that way, but I think to a lesser degree, that's really something that a lot of us have experienced, is this desire to remain innocent, to not have consequences, and to not really take authorship of our own life in that way.
Beautifully said. And that's why, for me, kadig, purity, innocence, is very central. And at the same time, through a practice, if you like these practices, like blood, skulls, flesh, charnel grounds. Most of these things take place. You have beneficence, but we're integrating blood, flesh. I'd like for you to hold awareness, and if you want, just for a minute, I'd like you to bite the person next to you, just for a minute, without being funny. Just feel. I want you to, without being comical, past the humor, and feel yourself like you're just taking a bite out of that person's body, flesh, and you're ripping it, and just and bypass the comic component, and then let yourself just feel like you're eating flesh to live. You with me? And you're ripping this, you're killing this being to live. You with me? Which we do all the time. Okay? And feel the power of that. Feel it. Just hold just for a minute. Just feel what it is to really feel your mouth. And just And you hold the dagger. You hold the dagger. You hold the dagger. And you feel your capacity to plunge it into anyone. You feel if you don't know this, you're not innocent, but you're naive. You with me? You really, and that issue of innocence and what it is and how to really have it in a powerful way. You with me? I'm just going to hold this awareness for a minute, okay? You feel that, everybody? So a lot of these practices have a violence to them. You with me? And all these, and yet there's a compassion that you hold it in. And the compassion is not the compassion of empathy. It is the compassion of seeing into what's taking place, even if you're having to dismiss a person from your life forever and ever and ever. Much sadomasochism, Amy, is a function of not being able to dismiss certain people from your life. There's studies on sadomasochism. Just hold on for a minute. Not all, but the most common kind we see, like pogo and estragon, is you cannot separate from a situation or from a person, okay? And because you cannot separate, you can't stand the separation anxiety, you can't stand the loss, financial, personal, whatever it might be in your mind, you will suffer sadomasochistic moments. The person's a paper from Harvard. I will get you that paper if I can find it. It's a very good sign. That's why sadomasochism is closer than close to every human being you will ever meet, in one form or another. Okay, and for a yogi, for holding and bodying awareness, you have to really know what you can do. And what you can't do. And you have to know your own capacity of permissibility, which is rather unbound. And out of compassion, and compassion alone, you hold that. You with me? If it's out of cowardness, or you don't like blood, and you don't like such things, it is not the real power of realization. You guys following this today? The real power of this thing. Everybody okay? That's why that text that I got the empowerment in, which is a very disgusting text, the Harukula empowerment, it's about every nasty known thing that can be possible between people. You with me? It's really ugly. And yet that empowerment is what helps a person to experience that capacity in them and helps you hold it properly. You with me? And nonetheless, a lot of people play that out in dissociative ways, and it's not really the method, the true deal. So I'm glad we're having our discussion today. Yes, please. That's all.
And what makes it so powerful is that we can hold that lens of awareness despite all that crap.
Right.
That's where the power is, because when it comes at us, we don't flinch. We don't close the lens. We take it and we hold it and we integrate it, and it then dissolves and might come back as the same shit, but it's not losing the awareness.
Beautifully said. So everybody who spoke today, I'd like you to work with the people who spoke today. So whoever shared their experience, come in the middle. Yes, okay? Okay, great, okay. Okay? Yeah.
Okay, so just one more thing, that when I first confronted that I was mostly operating out of naivete and started to act differently, it was like a form of initiation for me, just as important as any other initiation. And when we're doing the dagger thing just now and the biting thing, I could feel what was strengthening was that channel between the heart and the eyes.
Yes.
And it felt like the sacred balance between the masculine and feminine, because it wasn't foreclosed on compassion. It was both. It was the force and the holding, both. When I did
Beautifully,
that,
beautifully said. And that's
and
why...
the stuff victim-victimizer that you've always talked to
Yeah.
us about can go either way. That's that sadomasochistic prison when you're in there.
Over and over again. And I like how you described it, because the very karma in our life is our dharma. And as you know, I really like everybody doing practices and life, and it's really great. But the practices are not the karma. The practices are one way, and not necessarily the way. One way. That's why some people do it great, but this is not everybody has to do that. But it's one way, a very powerful way. But it's not. So let somebody, whoever talked, come sit in the middle right now. Okay, we're going to do this. Whoever spoke today. Okay, great. Okay, so let's just focus on these two people. Okay, and maybe someone come sit in front here, and we're going to extend our whole bodies into them. Okay, and I really love everybody speaking. And so let's extend our whole body fearlessly. We're holding the whole channel now. We're grown up. Okay, we're going to extend the entire channel of radiant light into the two people here. We're extending to the lower chakras and the mid chakra and the heart chakra and throat chakra and head, top head, whole thing. And we all can do this. We're extending to their hands, feet. And we're going to experience them as dakinis. We're not going to imagine them as dakinis. We're going to feel that energy in both these two people. You want to be able to see that in people. Then it's really cool. And we also want to see how both these people are holding their authorship completely in their own hands. They have no mother and father. Then I'd like the two ladies, who are actually the four ladies, to breathe the breathless breath into them, please. Different parts of their body. And you're going to have, you can get close, and you really just different areas. And we can do this. This is not for everybody. And we're not like Immanuel Kant, who always thought that any action he did had to be universally for everybody. That's really grandiose, right? So what we're doing here is for us, with us. Thank you, guys. Then two more people come up, please. Thank you, guys. I'm really happy how things are happening in our group. I'm so happy, everybody. And everybody's doing their own thing. You know, everybody's doing their own stuff, which is really, really great. And somebody else, maybe? Okay. Let's extend to the people. Whole body extending. For that extension from your lower center, up through the belly, up to the heart, all the way up. You can also feel the elements if you wish. And I would like the 4 ladies to breathe the breathless breath into the 2 ladies in the front there. And also we want to feel that sense, that Dakini in them as them. And sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can just feel it and resonate to that. Thank you. Sometimes it's called the warm breath of the Dakini. Thank you so much. 2 other people who had said something today, whoever spoke today. See everybody. So we're going to extend from the earth up. We can all feel the masculine and feminine energies in our bodies together. Now we're going to extend. All the way up. Lower center, Dantian. The point under the breast. Upper chest. Palate. Forehead. And then with the ladies, you can feel the Dakini energy. It makes a difference whether you're male or female for that energy in that person. And then you can put in mind breathing the breathless breath, okay, into them. But really actually do it. Find that place and let yourself. You can even be in the background and do that. Thank you, guys. Thank you. And then 2 more people. Whoever else had shared something, that'd be okay.
Yes.
Great, so we're going to focus. We're going to focus the entire channel of our body, so extending the whole channel. We're not really going to unbutton our shirt, but like we're unbuttoning our shirts. And we're going to focus the heart energy now. Just like you're unbuttoning your shirt. You're going to feel that. And then we're going to feel the Dharmakaya drop. Cultivating that. And we release it into the 2 ladies. It's a beneficent energy. So it's great. There's not one type of drama, huh? This embodies all sorts of dramas and all sorts of actions, you know? There's no one drama. And now the ladies will breathe into the breathless breath. And there is a cultural manifestation that's taking place, actually a lot in all the different traditions. You with me? So what's said here is said a lot of places. You with me? But there is a a conflict. You with me? It's okay. And between Nundum mean only I exist, and Nundum having there's really more than one here. You with me? Great. Thank you all. See everybody. Thank everybody for being here. And we'll all meet next week. Take it easy. And see you guys later. Thank everybody. Thank everybody. Embodied. And yet the embodiment gets more and more clear, more and more less dense, but stronger. You with me? Thank you guys. See you all later. Thanks a lot. Take it easy. This empowerment's a fantastic empowerment. I really didn't think I was going to like it. It's so empowering. So when you can pass it around and press it on your chest. And this is going to be, it's going to be done at the chakra, it's the Kayuga empowerment, so the Kayuga tradition. It's the empowerment, the Harukula empowerment, Chakravam Samvara. So, but it's also the Dakini empowerment from that tradition. And actually Lama Garchin and Lama, the one who did that, we're going to do it, they'll do it again in Preston, Arizona, July 30th and 31st. I'm actually amazed how powerful it is. And I think maybe I'll place it around next time and you can see if you like it, you know. And this is just, but also I'm going to mention other things that will be taking place during this summer in case you guys want to do that sort of thing. Just tell you stuff that I like to do. You with me? But this is really quite an amazing experience. The text is extremely powerful. Harukula. You with me? Haruka. And I'll talk maybe more about it next week a bit. But it holds a lot. That's my experience was. I'm very surprised. I was actually surprised.
This is the one at the TMC.
Yep, TMC in Frederick. Oh, you were there, right? The real. That's right. The real thing. It really was quite an empowerment. So big. But I also think that when we get empowerments, it sort of spreads around. You with me? And there's no reason not to say not to go or be or don't go. But if I think when somebody has it in the field, then we experience different stuff. So I have to run and get a haircut. See you guys later. Thank you. Take it easy. Turn off microphone.
Thank you so much.